your energy forecast for Thursday, October 19th. So today we do have the moon in Sagittarius energy going void, of course, at 3:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be locking into Capricorn energy at 9:56 p.m. So anytime we're making the transition from Sag energy to Capricorn energy, kind of feels like we hit a brick wall, like we kind of jump out of a plane with a parachute not opening, we splat down on Earth. Now that may feel like a pretty bad analogy, but we're riding high with that fire energy. We are trying to dream a bigger dream. We're trying to grasp a new mission, a new purpose, new vision, new goal. We tend to bite off more than we can chew. We really let ourselves kind of get carried away. The Capricorn energy, being an earth energy, brings us back down to earth. Can be very sobering, can be a little bit of a reality check, can even kind of put us in a little bit of a funk, a little bit of depression. But what we have to understand is that the Capricorn energy, being a cardinal earth energy, is about initiating something new that is going to help us clean up the debris of the past, clean the slate for the here and now, and really put ourselves in a good situation, a good position to start piecing together a new foundation, a new structure on what it is that we're going to need to be building and bringing to life in order to build this new vision, this new goal, this new dream upon. The Capricorn energy is kind of like, maybe we have to take what it is that we've been kind of exploring while the moon was in Sagittarius and just bring it down a couple of pegs. Now, it never feels nice to have the wind kind of knocked out of our sails, but it is a necessary aspect in order for us to become a little bit more realistic with what it is that we're trying to do here. We also have to understand that the Capricorn energy is about illuminating for us where it is that we feel blocked, where it is that we feel restricted, heavy, weighted in our lives, because when the moon moves into Aquarius energy, we come up with solutions on where it is that we're going to free ourselves, liberate ourselves, really kind of switch things up and make an energy and an effort to switch things around and really kind of provide ourselves with new methods, new ways of doing things, new perspectives, new understandings. So it is very important that we understand that the Capricorn moon energy just brings us down to reality just a little bit and definitely puts us in a more logical, practical, common sense type of perspective. Of course, we will be building towards the first quarter moon in this Capricorn energy that will be taking place on Saturday. And so we are building towards a action point, a decision point, a revelation point, a realization point. And so all of these different aspects are very important to trigger and activate different emotions, different thoughts, different epiphanies within us so that we can really open up our mind, open up our heart space to what it is that we have to move away from and what it is that we now desire to move closer to. Okay, so there are 15 different aspects here today. We talked about this in the ascension forecast for this week, how Thursday was pretty much the busiest day in the cosmos this week. We're still very much in eclipse season. We are in the window, the awkward window of energy between eclipses. Everything is pretty intense, pretty pressurized, pretty confusing. That is definitely needed in order for us to open our mind space up to where it is that things are falling apart and falling away so that we have a space to create something better, something new in its place. So out of the 15 different aspects here today, 12 of them are going to involve the moon. We're going to kick things off with the moon still in Sagittarius energy, making a very positive interaction to Jupiter. Jupiter rules over this Sagittarius energy, so there's always a little bit of an intensity here. Jupiter, of course, is retrograde in Taurus energy, giving us an opportunity to step back, to observe, to see whether or not we are still in alignment with the same goals, dreams, visions that we were at the beginning of the year. Even more than that, we get a little bit of a time out to do the work within ourselves. We've had a lot that has already taken place. We're going through a little bit of a growth spurt. We're going through a major change, a major transformation, especially where our beliefs are concerned. And because this Jupiter energy is retrograde, the energy is internalized, which means that there's a new opportunity for growth and expansion within us, where it is that we've grown, in our self-worth, in our self-love, in really valuing ourselves in a different way and realizing where it is that we have to create new opportunities to really take care of ourselves and nurture that dream, that vision, that goal that we're now starting to realize. The moon interacting with Jupiter in this way is definitely boosting us in our self-esteem, in our self-confidence, in our self-worth. Again, allowing us to kind of get a little bit overly exaggerated with what it is that we want to dream up, what we want to conjure up, what it is that we want to manifest. Again, there's no harm in kind of, dreaming the biggest dream possible. Just realize that when we shift into that Capricorn energy, we're going to be a little bit more realistic. We're going to have to refine that dream a little bit. It's going to feel like a little bit of a Debbie Downer to do so, but there's nothing wrong with taking the dream to its fullest extent and, of course, refining from there. Now, Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information communication, how it is that we express ourselves, still in this Libran energy, again, very much sitting on the fence between choices and decisions and actions that we're currently contemplating, that they're weighing the pros and cons about. Of course, Mercury being in this Libran energy, we have a lot to say, mostly when it comes to trying to reconcile, renegotiate, come to terms with, reach a compromise, especially in some of our relationship dynamics. Now, Mercury is going to basically sit on top of, align, if you will, with the South Node in Libran energy, while directly opposing the North Node in Aries energy. So we talked a little bit about this yesterday because, of course, the Sun had come up to, teamed up with, conjunct that South Node and sat across from the North Node in Aries. And as we kind of discussed, that South Node in Libra is where it is that we're coming from, what is comfortable, what is familiar, what it is that we're kind of, holding on to, where it is that we're preventing our growth, and where it is that we kind of have to leave things behind. Well, now Mercury is doing the exact same thing that the Sun did here yesterday by coming up to, bumping into, teaming up with the South Node in Libran energy and sitting across from, directly opposing the North Node in Aries energy. So what this is going to do for us, because Mercury, of course, is the ruler of the mental plane, is really going to put us in a situation where we're kind of reminiscing about the past. We're stuck in a particular perspective. We're stuck on a particular thought, if you will. We're overthinking things. We may even find ourselves over-explaining ourselves. We may be over-analyzing our situation. But even more than that, we're kind of procrastinating on processing the thoughts, the emotions within ourselves, because we have a tendency to kind of avoid the emotions coming up. There's a lot of avoidance going on within us right now. Of course, that South Node in Libran energy has us in the shallow end. We don't like to deal with the complexities of our thoughts, of our emotions, of our circumstances. We want everything to be light and fluffy. We want everybody to be happy-go-lucky. And that is just a false reality. That is a delusion. So having Mercury kind of sit across from and directly oppose the North Node in Aries, that's our soul path. That's the destiny point that we got to get on. That is where growth and evolution happens. But right now, we are just stuck in this particular mind frame. We realize what we're holding on to. We realize where we're blocking our own selves. And essentially, we don't even really care at the moment. We don't have the mental capacity. We don't have the emotional, I'm going to say, foundation backing us to make the kind of changes that we have to make. And therefore, we're just stuck in a ping pong pattern, if you will, in our mental plane, bouncing ideas off of other ideas and really not making any headway on how it is that we're going to break free from some of these aspects of our past and how it is that we're going to make a move to actually move towards this new goal, this new vision, this new dream, this new path. So the moon in Sagittarius energy going to make a positive interaction with Saturn. Saturn, of course, is the Lord of Karma. He rules over our roles, responsibilities, our structures, our foundations. He is retrograde, internalizing this energy in Pisces energy, which is about endings and closures, especially where our old belief system is concerned. Saturn is in this Pisces energy to try and dissolve the old structures of what once was in order for us to get very clear on what currently is so that we can start building towards what we want to actually bring to life. The The moon interacting with Saturn in this way is definitely putting us in a situation where we're thinking more about the future than we are about the past, even though that mental plane is kind of being stuck and activated and agitated because of Mercury being very close to that south node in Libran energy. This is an emotional effort, if you will, to capture a vision and a dream of our futuristic realms, and therefore taking a good look at the roles and responsibilities that we will be in a futuristic realm, and from that break it down, bring it on back, if you will, to see how it is that we maybe actually get there. What is the structure needed? What is the foundation needed in the here and now to bridge the gap from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be? This is a positive and optimistic point of view and perspective and understanding on where it is that we are essentially closing the door on old chapters and where we are bossing up to new ones. Now, the moon is going to semi-square Mars, and this isn't going to feel good. And Mars, of course, is the god of war. He rules over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire. He's in his rulership in Scorpio energy, a fixed water sign, which is looking to stabilize our inner realms of emotion, especially when it comes to realizing new passions, new desires, new goals, new motivation. Now, if this were a good aspect, we would be pumped up. We would be inspired. We would actually see a little bit of a path actually emerge, and we'd be able to take a little bit of a baby step upon it. But this is a semi-square. This is creating tension and conflict so that we can see how far off of the path we actually are. Now, emotionally speaking, we aren't motivated. We aren't really kind of inspired. We're not really understanding these new passions, these new dreams, these new desires. And so what is likely about to happen is we're about to get frustrated, irritable. We're about to settle into a whole lot of restlessness. We're agitated. We don't understand why it is that we can't come up with the clarity that we need at this particular moment in order to understand the path forward. And of course, spoiler alert, we're in eclipse season. You're supposed to be confused. The moon in Sag then goes ahead and interacts with Uranus, the great awakener, who is retrograde in Taurus energy, in not the nicest way. So instead of giving us an aha moment, instead of giving us an epiphany, instead of giving us this realization where it is that we do have to make a spontaneous change and adopt new methods and new behaviors and new patterns in order to build something new instead of continue to get what it is that we've already got, this is a negative aspect, which means that we are sitting in a whole lot of confusion. We don't understand why we can't break free. We don't understand why we're resisting change. We don't understand how we're supposed to adopt new methods, new ways, new patterns, new ways of going about our life and creating circumstances. So this is kind of the point in time where we feel a little bit anxious, where we feel a lot of restlessness coming in. Again, that Uranian energy definitely affects the central nervous system. We're having a hard time staying positive. We're having a hard time seeing the forest past the trees at this particular point, and it feels very cloudy within our mental plane and our heart space. Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, goes ahead and interacts with Neptune in not the nicest way. Neptune, of course, retrograde in Pisces energy in its place of power, really helping us to confront our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, confront the debris that we've created by trying to bring things to an end, to a close, but there's still loose ends that we have to tie up. Mercury and Neptune kind of interacting in this way is going to bring a whole lot of confusion into the mix. If you thought you were confused before, wait until this particular aspect reaches its most potency. This is putting us in a situation where we can't even imagine how we're going to get out of this mental narrative, out of this emotional framework, out of this particular circumstance. It is a little bit of a Debbie Downer. We can feel very overwhelmed. All we're really going to want to do is bury our head in the sand and avoid reality and just live in la la land. But even la la land is a tough place to live in right now because we're just not able to grasp a vision and a dream of what it is that we actually want to conjure up in la la land, because we know damn well that whatever it is that we're focusing our time, energy, and attention on in our mental space is what it is that's going to come to life, what it is that's going to actually manifest. We're having a hard time even focusing on the vision, on the dream, on the goal, on the details of what it is that we want to bring to life. We literally don't know. This is going to highlight the uncertainty, highlight the indecision. We are having a hard time aligning with our intuition. We are not too strong in logic and practicality. And although we may lose ourselves in daydreams, They are worrisome and anxious daydreams. And let me just say that if you find yourself in an anxious, worry type of mindset, daydream or not, that is actually a signal on what it is that you would like to manifest. So we have to be very, very careful with our thoughts, especially when we are being kind of confronted with some of these not so nice aspects. We get a little bit of help when the moon in Sag goes ahead and trines beautiful interaction with the nodes of the moon. Now, of course, this is the north node in Aries energy. This is what gives us our trine. It's fire on fire. Fire on fire energy is great because it allows us to kind of burn through the cords that we are still very attached to the past. We can burn down, if you will, any negative energies, negative frequencies that we're able to concentrate on. Fire energy is very cleansing. Yes, it can be very dangerous if you don't have the emotional and mental capacity to really kind of understand where you have to kind of draw the line and say enough is enough. But that fire energy is trying to kind of burn away the old in order for us to realize what it is that we want to initiate, what it is we want to bring to life, where it is that there's new sparks of happiness, excitement, and joy. So this is a little bit of growth. This is a little bit of progress. We are starting to piece together what it is that we would like to do in a futuristic realm, even if it means just one singular baby step. The moon is going to get into the boxing ring and square off with Neptune, though, and this definitely isn't going to feel good. And this is kind of where we lose that excitement. We lose that clarity. It was very, very short-lived. Nonetheless, we are very overwhelmed with thoughts, with emotion, with confusion, with uncertainty. We're having a hard time really focusing in on the details of our current circumstances, and therefore there's this want, need, and desire just to run away, just to avoid, just to curl up in a ball and just sit this one out. Of course, we shouldn't be doing that because the whole point is to be doing the shadow work right now in order to unearth the emotional and mental blockages that are keeping us in this loop, this pattern, this behavior. We really need to stop running away from the hard things and kind of deal with them head on in order to resolve them and free us up to actually move on with our lives. The moon is then going to sextile, beautiful interaction with Mercury. So we love this because the moon is our heart space, Mercury is our head space. This is a sextile, which means that we're blending these energies together, which is highly indicative that for the first time in a long time, especially here today, our heart and our head, they agree about something. Now, that something is likely in the capacity of what it is that we're lacking and what it is that we need more of, especially when it comes to our relationship dynamics, especially when it comes to being able to articulate our inner realm, our thoughts, our emotions, our ideas, and be able to actually communicate that outwardly effectively. And of course, we were having a hard time doing that. Especially these last couple of days. Eclipse season, again, has us all very wonky, very confused, kind of, in a whirlwind of euphoria. So it is a major win for us that at this particular point, we're actually finding an agreement between our heart and our head on one particular topic and theme. The moon is then going to sextile the sun. This is a beautiful interaction because, of course, the moon is our past, our intuition, our unconscious self, our heart space, our emotions. And the sun is shining a bright light in this Libran energy on a futuristic realm on where it is that we need to kind of establish peace and harmony and balance within our heart and head before we can express that outwardly. So there is an illumination, there is a realization, there is an epiphany, there is an aha moment that is working for us coming out of this realization that we're kind of on the same page between our heart and our head for the first time in a long time. And now we're figuring out what it is that we're actually going to do to bring those realizations into action. It's at this point in time that the moon in Sag is going to go void, of course. And when the moon is void, things get shaky, things get uncertain, things get very unstable. It is not the greatest time to make any decisions. There is a lot of impulse and urgency rising to the surface. You must learn to just ground out until that moon locks into its next energy. But while the moon is void and still very much in the Sag energy, we're going to have a not so nice interaction with Jupiter. Again, Jupiter rules over the Sag energy that the moon is in. Jupiter is retrograde in this Taurus energy, and what this is going to illuminate is where it is that we're resisting making the changes that are essentially going to lead us to growth and expansion. where it is that we have to kind of rearrange the way that we're thinking, the way that we're believing, the way that we're projecting ourselves, and understand that what it is that we're focused on in our mental plane is what we're manifesting. So this is a realization on the distance, on the gap that's preventing us from moving forward. And again, it's an internalized energy. Where do we have to kind of grow up and glow up within ourselves before we can boss up to a level of emotional and mental preparedness, if you will, to take the action and make the moves out in the physical realm? Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, who's in this Virgo energy, really looking to fix and heal and repair certain aspects within our heart space, certain values, certain priorities that make us happy, that provide us with a sense of security and stability. Venus is going to interact with the North Node in Aries in not the nicest way. And this is really going to bring us down into the heart space and realize, especially where our relationship dynamics are concerned, where we're very confused on this next step, on this next path. Many of us realizing where we have to create some distance in some particular relationship dynamics in order to get to know ourselves again, but we really don't know how to go about doing it. So there is, again, another level of confusion, another level of frustration. We're definitely focusing in and overanalyzing every little aspect of our headspace, of our heart space, and really trying to figure out how it is that we could take one little tiny adjustment baby step forward. The moon then going to interact with Pluto. Pluto's the great transformer himself, who is direct in this Capricorn energy. And lucky for us, this is a positive interaction, which means that there's a major change in our mood, in our attitude, in our optimism, in our confidence, in our realizations. There's an aha moment here. This is very intense. We're understanding where it is that we have the ability to use our pain and trauma stories to empower us, to boss up, to take our control back and actually be the creator of our own lives. The last aspect that the moon in Sag is going to make before shifting into that Capricorn energy is a positive interaction with Uranus, the great awakener, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. This is an epiphany. This is a realization. This is a spontaneous change in our perspective, in our understanding, in our emotions, in our thoughts, in our ability to understand where it is that we have been blocking our own damn selves from making any kind of progress in our lives by holding on too much to the past, to who it is that we were, who it is that we had to be, what it is that we thought at the time, what it is that we believed in, what it is that we were trying to manifest at the time that, of course, we have outgrown. And so instead of kind of sitting where it is that we've been sitting and wondering why we continue to pray for change and nothing happens, we're starting to realize where it is that the change needs to take place within ourselves before we're going to see it in our exterior realm. Again, 9:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we shift into Capricorn energy. At 11:11 p.m., the moon in Capricorn is going to sextile, beautiful interaction, with Saturn. Saturn rules over this Capricorn energy. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces energy. And so there is a realization, emotionally speaking, yes, it may be a little bit heavier, a little bit more weighted than we felt with the moon in Sag, but we're taking a realistic approach to our current circumstances, to what we need to clear away, what's on our to-do list, where it is that we need to boss up, what it is that we're working towards, what needs to change and transform, especially when it comes to the roles and responsibilities, the soul contracts that we have outgrown. This particular realization is getting us kind of logical and practical in the mindset that we need to have to focus in on cleaning up the debris, cleaning the slate, so to speak, so that we can actively start putting the pieces together to build a new structure, build a new bridge, if you will, to get us from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be.